You are listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome to this special episode of Outside the Trenches, presented by our friends at Five Farms Irish Cream, a holiday distillery product and one of our favorites. And this is the time of the year, especially with the way the weather is, now that the Chiefs season is over and they've picked up another Super Bowl championship that we're going to talk about here on this show. You can swing up to Weston when you got a free weekend and take the tour, go through it. It's a beautiful place, and we appreciate their partnership. And I appreciate the partnership between my two co-hosts here of Outside the Trenches, Mr. Nick Leckey, former K-State All-American and Super Bowl champion with the New Orleans Saints, and Mr. Tucker Franklin, the star of the Up and Adams show, live from the parade. This man... And we'll edit this. We're going to put this in there. This man was absolutely living his best life. If you didn't see the video of Tucker Franklin chugging a beer, a Bud Light, with his sunglasses on a cloudy day. Tucker, it just looked like you were having a beautiful day.
It was a great time. And it always helps when you're around people that like the same things that you like, right? Just the vibes were high, the beers were flowing, as I said. I remember I was nervous, number one, and because, you know, Kay Adams, FanDuel TV, like, it's a big deal, big show. And so I remember hopping on a little early. I got on at like, I think 9:55 local time to make sure my connection was good, because I was a little worried, because Mayor Lucas already said, "Hey, look, connection's going to be spotty." So I was like, I mean, I can hop on, but I don't know how good the connection was. Seemed like the connection was good. I hopped off and I thought, I don't really know how. I think I might have talked too much. I don't know how that really well went. And then I looked down and I see like the tweets come in. I was like, oh, okay, must have went fine, good. After I saw the tweets coming in, but no, it was great. I'm thankful for Kay and our friend Matt Hamilton for asking me to come on the show and be a live correspondent. I had a bit in mind that I was going to do, and I didn't end up doing it, acting like I was like a correspondent for the news and like go, yeah, thanks, Kay. We're here there. So I had that bit in mind, but I didn't end up doing it. I might save that for maybe something else that Kay what's on location for. But you know, it was awesome. I think it went well.
It did. Bunch of things perfectly coming together at the exact right moment.
You look good, Tucker. You looked really good too. Hey, don't let the haters say you can't wear sunglasses on a cloudy day. There's still a thing called glare and UV light that can get into your
It was part of the vibes is all I'm going with, okay? It had nothing to do with wearing sunglasses.
100%.
I wear sunglasses at night. I don't care. I love sunglasses.
Yeah. I wore sunglasses during the AFC Championship game. I had to keep it going, right? I mean, when we were at the Blue Wire studio, I was wearing those inside, so had to keep the vibes. And again, I didn't want to.
Very similar vibes coming from you. Both of those moments.
How many beers deep were you for the Kay Adams?
Probably like 5-ish.
What could you have been? You should throttle down.
Listen, I probably could have been 10. Like, because I probably could have been. They were flowing. When I said the beers were flowing, they were. And I had to stop myself because I had to think, wait, I don't want to be a total mess on live television. So I did have the beer in my back pocket. I thought, okay, this would be a good idea if I pulled this out. One hand crack. People aren't talking about that. That aspect of it. That was the most talented thing I think I did the whole time, was that one hand crack on camera. But yeah, that was a opportunity I couldn't pass up.
I love it. Nick, what do you, before I'll get into my stuff, but like, what do you remember about the Saints Super Bowl parade? Like, how was that? What do you remember about it?
It was like 10 hours long. Like, it was like, we started like at 11 a.m. and we went until like 8 o'clock at night. And in the city that does parades, knows how to do parades. You got Mardi Gras parades, you know, different crews have parades. They let us use the Mardi Gras floats. It was like the Tuesday before Earth Day. It was Ash Wednesday. It was just amazing. It was just a culmination of things. So, and 10 deep for 6 hours, 10 deep everywhere for 6 hours. It wasn't like 2 mile stretch. It was like, oh my gosh, more people like everywhere. And there was no dead spots. And it was fun. It was like, you know, the kickoff to Mardi Gras. And to me, it made me realize, you know, how important sports are to bring a city together. And especially for New Orleans, you know, 2005 Katrina brought them over that hump.
Yeah. There was a lot of context going into the Saints Super Bowl win that year with everything that had gone on with Katrina and what it meant. And all different storylines that were following that. I want to shout out 41 Action News. That's who I was watching, KSHB, watching their coverage yesterday. My wife and I kind of bummed, wanted to go, looked like a hell of a time, but kids are still pretty young for that environment. And the only other experience that my wife and I had was the Royals parade, which was a mess. And we walked, and the buses, it was not great logistically. And now Tucker, to your point, they seem to have got it figured out now that we're experienced in this whole throwing championship parades thing. But watching it, and then the first Super Bowl parade, it was a different experience because I was working there and had, passes and access, and it wasn't the same as if now we went down and took the kids down and just didn't want to take in that crowded environment. But shout out to 41. They did a phenomenal job with the interviews, with all the camera angles and showing everything. It looked like a hell of a time. And that's what was beautiful about Kansas City and coming together. And they said there were more people. Tucker, I know you weren't at the first parade. Heard a lot of people say they thought there were more people at this one. The weather still, even though it was cold, was better than it was for the last Super Bowl parade. So that was pretty special. And that's going to take us right into our Blind Nil segment, because mine is parade-esque. It has nothing to do with football. So Nick's favorite. So Tucker, I'm really curious on your answer. And this one, but I saw Tech 9 perform, which makes all the sense in the world. He went out there and did his thing. Awesome. But if you, in that moment, I was going to make it like Super Bowl halftime performer, but then that gets to not Kansas City. But Nick, Tucker, if you could pick anybody to perform, alive or dead, at a Super Bowl rally at the end of a parade, just hop up on stage, like say after Tech 9, because he gets to go still.
Right.
If you could pick anybody to come and perform after that, who would you choose and why? Nick, I'll go with you first because it's going to take Tucker a minute.
I would, I think I would do David Bowie. And I know, right? You think, but you want someone who's arena ready, right? You want someone who can work a crowd, and you want a song that everybody can get down to. And I would have to say David Bowie and Queen Bee would be the song. Because it started off, it's kind of got this kind of magnificent little, like, quiet little intro. And then it just gets just epic, like right away. And I think it would just get the people going. And I'm just doing one-off song for the whole people. Because you ain't trying to do a whole thing, right?
You don't have a set list.
Yeah, you don't have a set list. And it's celebration each. Rock and roll. Get crowd hyped.
Yeah.
And then it's like,
pretty good.
And it's kind of chill, and then it gets up. But yeah.
Tuck, what do you got?
Well, I'm going to go with the song that kept playing over and over and over and over, as All We Do Is Win by DJ Khaled. And I think that DJ Khaled, again, Nick, to your point, dude's always ready to be in front of a camera. He's always ready to be in front of a crowd. He can get the people going, especially with some of his songs in his catalog. All We Do Is Win was a big one that they played yesterday. And I think that that one would be great to just hear live. And it was cool. Tech 9 came out and played both of his songs about Kansas City, right? He played the one where he made after the Royals parade, and then he also played Red Kingdom, which I don't know if he changed the lyrics for the Royals one or anything, but no, it was that's the first time I've seen Tech 9 perform live, which is kind of crazy. When that was happening, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. You get a Tech 9 concert out of the deal. But I do think like a DJ, like DJ Khaled or like a DJ Snake would be good to have on deck to just get everybody going and do the best mixes, the best hype songs for winning.
Mine has absolutely nothing to do with Kansas City. I just think it'd be hype and be cool, but have like Biggie and Tupac. Like this whole like East Coast, West Coast, like they come together in the Midwest.
Things I was not expecting to hear from that Blind Nil.
I didn't expect you to say David Bowie either. I've been waiting for Tupac and Biggie holograms to show up on one of these award shows or do something, and it's not yet happened. I was like, you give me anybody, alive or dead, like give me those two dudes
What do you want them
out there just coming together in the Midwest. We just bring people together.
That's true. That would be kind of symbolic in that regards.
And bring Snoop. He was trying to bring them together. Just bring him in there, and he can make it all work.
Interesting. But rap live is so terrible, and I love rap in all my heart. Rap live is the worst.
I got on a little rabbit hole of watching Super Bowl halftime shows because they have a playlist on the NFL's YouTube page of just all of them. And so, like, I rewatched Rihanna's, obviously, and then I just, like, went down the line of all the Super Bowls.
If you talk about J-Lo, Jordan's going to hop in here.
He's going to punch you so bad.
Listen, my mom always told me if you don't have anything nice, don't say anything at all. So I'm not going to say anything. And I got to the Maroon 5 one, and I forgot that Travis Scott was also, for some reason, in that halftime show, and he just gets and just starts yelling, and it's just like, whoa, this is awful. But, like, why? I know people are trying to predict who, like, the next halftime show performer is, and I think I've seen a lot of people throw out Usher and say that, like, his songs are too slow for halftime. But I think I like, personally, Usher, and I think it'd be fun. He's got some big hits. Yeah's a good one. I love that. Yeah, that's a banger.
That's a stadium banger for sure.
I'd get behind Usher.
What about Thong Song? Where's that Cisco?
That's Cisco.
Save it, Boomer. I always thought Usher.
Can we just agree that Chris Stapleton should sing the national anthem for every Super Bowl? Because that was awesome.
It was really good. Get this line. Line was set at 2 minutes, 2 seconds. He finished his national anthem 2 minutes, 1 second. Yes. Barely hit the under. That continues the trend of country music singers and hitting the under. I think Vegas adjusted for who it was. They knew it was Chris Stapleton, so they bumped it up a little bit. Yeah.
I like I said beforehand, they should take the over because he likes to hold those notes and
he did.
I thought a little growling.
He's good. He's very good.
Tough. All right, guys, before I got to bounce, but I do want to talk one little football thing regarding this game before you guys finish your blind nils. I want to get Nick's thoughts on a game that was pretty much has been featured, and you will hear that on another podcast I'm recording this Thursday morning, a little bit later today, recording with somebody in the entire podcast. We talked about the Chiefs' offensive line and what they did. And Nick, I want to get your thoughts on what you saw and watching, because you've been talking about the offensive line, the run game, all of that. We saw the Chiefs' offensive line go out and become the storyline and kind of the reason that they won this game. And as somebody that's been talking about it all year on this show, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about what you saw.
Well, I just thought that, they had some issues in the first half with getting stuff out, and it comes down to getting the ball out quickly. And then the second half, I just loved that they just started pounding the rock. And once you do that, it's like, man, that switches up everything. So that changes up everything like that. And just, I loved that the turf had something to do with it, because there's a couple times I saw this Philly D lineman try to plant and really get into it, and they just kind of slipped. Yeah. Like they slipped. There's one play where Andrew Wiley got number 7 and Sweat, I believe, I forget his name. Reddick. And he slipped, Reddick, and then he just dominated him, just absolutely mauled him. So I think the Chiefs just turned it up, man. They were sick of hearing, they're the weak link, that they're not good, that Orlando Brown Jr. is a crappy trade, and they just kicked ass. Every one of them, man to man, just kicked ass. They really said, we're not going to let you do this, and running the ball and just being aggressive up front. And they did well. They played well with each other, just stayed in line. It was really cool, like, to see, like, when I say that, like, they kept their shape, like it was on the turf, like they kept their shape well, and they gave each other help, and it was fun to watch. It was fun to watch. And then, like I said, I tweeted about it, but Trey Smith first played the game going after Fletcher Cox. I love that. I absolutely love that, man. That's a second-year guy, right? He's like saying, F you, man. We know you're the workhorse, the war daddy. I'm going to come after you, and it's going to be a game. Because I thought Trey Smith, Fletcher Cox was going to be the weak link, honestly. Yeah. Because, Trey Smith been getting bull rushed a lot this year, and he had some trouble with guys like Fletcher Cox, and no trouble whatsoever. No trouble. He stuck him. That's Fletcher's weakness.
This game was awesome. This game had a lot of great offensive line play. Matt Lane said that this was an offensive line masterclass, both sides of the ball. All Eagles offensive line, Chiefs offensive line, Eagles masterclass. And you can have a masterclass of yourself if you're taking AG1 by Athletic Greens. I got to tell you about our sponsor, Athletic Greens. And then I take AG1 by Athletic Greens literally every day. I give it a try because I want to improve this gut health, sustain energy, a good immune system. And, I don't like taking all those pills, all those vitamins, and I wanted a supplement that actually tastes great too. That's a big thing. You get a lot of these supplements, they don't taste good. And I take it in the morning just because, I want to get my day started. I took it just before making my cup of coffee. I haven't even had my cup of coffee, but I've had my AG1 today because it makes me feel ready to take on my day. And listen, all great athletes have one thing in common. They take care of their bodies. Listen, I'm no Patrick Mahomes, but I do like to take care of my body. I still like to think that I'm an athlete, and I'm setting myself up for success with these 75 high-quality ingredients that give me key daily nutrition and long-term gut health support. It's a micro habit that delivers macro benefits. Here's what you got to do. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/KCSN. That's athleticgreens.com/KCSN. Go ahead and check it out. Nick, a very, very big fan of the offensive line play there. In what was going on in that game. There's some really good moves. I don't know if you saw the move from Ndamukong Suh, and where Trey Smith club, and he just tossed him down to the ground, man. It was just some really good stuff from Trey Smith. And as you mentioned, a lot of the emphasis was put on the tackles, but that interior offensive line was no joke.
No, they were so good. It was really cool. I mean, just for them to hold up and for them to respond how they did. And Mahomes did his part, offensive line did their part, the turf did their part, so it made it kind of like a weather game where it kind of favors the offensive line. And I think that's why it was a masterclass. Like, shout out to both the lines. They played great. They just did what it took. And I think at the end, though, I think the second half, I think Philly, their offensive line kind of got tired because then all of a sudden, Chris Jones is attacking the line of scrimmage, Dana's attacking the line of scrimmage, and then it was like no more missed tackles, so they kind of killed that momentum, like with like a strangulation sort of move to or body blows in boxing, and it was very fun to watch. Man, there's so many subplots, so many things going on. It was awesome to watch.
BJ had to dip out on us, so it's just you and I for the rest of the show. That's why he got his blind nail out of the way early. I think get some parent-teacher conferences. 'Tis the season for that. And so, listen, the show rolls on here. Nick, do you want to go your blind nail next?
Yeah, I'd love to. When did you believe the Chiefs were going to win the Super Bowl? When did you believe that they were going to beat Philly? What moment of the game you're like, we got it? Like, we got it.
That's a good question. I think it had to have been the punt return. I think it was the punt return from Kadarius Toney. I think that's probably an easy answer to say. But even at halftime, I didn't really think that the Chiefs were out of it. It was a 10-point game, and I know that there was a stat going around like teams were 26-1 when leading Super Bowls at halftime. And I know Matt Hamilton sent us a text that they put it up on the Jumbotron, that stat on the Jumbotron in Arizona. And he said at that point he kind of had a feeling that the Chiefs were going to come back. And I know you can never count this Chiefs team out, especially with the offense that they have. But I do think it was kind of the punt return setting them up. I was like, oh, okay. Especially on that ice rink that they call the football field that they were playing on. Kadarius Toney was able to maneuver all the way down to I think the 5-yard line, something like that, something crazy. That's when it was like, okay, this is they're going to be in position to win this football game. And man, it might have even been before that. Starting to think back to the game now and just thinking to how the offense was moving in the second half. Like they were in a groove. All of their possessions ended in touchdowns in the second half. Like that's incredible. They were rocking, they were rolling, they adjusted phenomenally out of halftime, that long halftime and everything. But and the Eagles were moving the ball too. To the Eagles' credit, I think that, and we've talked about this a decent amount, I know on the network, Nate Taylor talked about it. I do think this win is a little bit more impressive than the one against the Niners, just because Eagles were balling out, man. Like the Eagles, I think this Eagles team was better than the Niners team. Jalen Hurts played a way better game than Jimmy Garoppolo played in that other Super Bowl, and so I do think I will say probably the punt return was like, oh, they got a real shot to win the Super Bowl. Like we're gonna win the Super Bowl once Kadarius Toney took that ball down to the 5-yard line.
I think it's funny too. If you watch that punt return on tape, you will see that they either pre-planned the go to the right, or they called punt block left and everyone went to the right. Because you'll see it was Kadarius Toney. He was fielding the punt from his left side of the field, and the whole crew was on the right side of the field. Like it was like there was nobody over there. So like all the Philly guys were over there. Then all of a sudden he's like, oh crap. And then like, he ran into them. It's like, where are my guys? I don't see any blockers. And he switched fields. And it's amazing because then you see like, okay, it's like two wars, like World War I trench warfare, where like you have these two masses sort of coming at each other with Kadarius Toney running around. So like this perfect storm for Kadarius Toney to go up there a little bit, to have the wherewithal to switch fields, and all his homies were over on the other side. And I was like, he's getting chased in them streets, and all of them say, all right, we're here. And to me, the coolest thing was Jody Fortson. Jody Fortson, who was leading the way a little bit, he blocked the punter or long shot, whoever it was. And then at the end, when Kadarius Toney was about to get tackled, he cleaned someone up so good. I'm talking like cleaned him up. But I love that. That was the vibe to me, where I'm like, okay, they're unified. And you know what? Special teams hadn't done anything in a while that game. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, long punt return, seal the deal. So that to me was punt return. And then when they started the second half with just, let's pound the rock, I'm like, okay, Andy, I remember you're offensive lineman now. Okay, that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to EB, you're a running back, for Christ's sake. Like, why don't you dial up some more runs and do your thing? So that's when I knew. I was like, okay, you're going to get on track. And then defense makes some stops. Defense cleaned up the tackling and, prevent, because that was the missed thing, all the missed tackles and the jukes. And then it was like, kind of can Philly go into grind mode? And, Chiefs went into grind mode. Right? I tweeted out, I think Mahomes' 24-yard run in the fourth quarter was the longest play all game for Kansas City. So they won differently. Kansas City won differently.
And that's what the separation, I think, between like good and great teams are, right? If you find different ways to win. I know that this is talked a lot about in college basketball, especially, is this way, because there are just in basketball so many different ways to win a basketball game. There's a lot of different ways to win a football game too. And if you don't have your fastball, you got to be able to have the curveball, the number 2, the number 3 pitch to be able to work a little bit better. And running the ball was one of those things that the Chiefs really needed to figure out and to work. And listen, to their credit, I think it makes sense when you look at how this matchup on paper. They got a really good pass rush. Run the ball. They can't pin their ears back as much as they want to if they're having to wait and see if they're going to run the ball or not. So I really liked what we saw from the Chiefs offense. That last impression, that second half there, you could probably just start watching the Super Bowl at the second half. Don't worry about that first half.
Yeah. Watch the Bolton fumble.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Bolton fumble from the first half. I think the throw from Patrick Mahomes to Travis Kelce on that first touchdown was just like beautiful. It was a masterclass of just like those two guys. It was just like I can't think of the word right now. It was just like a microcosm of just like the relationship between Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, of Patrick Mahomes putting the ball only where Travis Kelce could get that ball, and Travis Kelce making a ridiculous play and just being a good athlete.
It gave you hope.
It did.
It gave you hope for a shitty first half of the Chiefs.
Very much so. All right, Nick. I had a blind no written down, but we'd already covered it. I wanted to know, but I still want to know this. I'm going to still ask you this question because only you. Favorite memory from the parade that you were in, from your Super Bowl parade you were in?
Favorite memory? Oh, easily. Before we got to the parade, we were there. We went to the facility, and then they took us on a bus. We got an escort to the Superdome, and we started the parade to the Superdome. And we're organizing at the parade float, and we're all sitting there because it's most of our first time winning a Super Bowl. I don't think anyone had won one on the offensive line. And Drew and Mark Brunell, and it was like, oh shoot! Like we're like, oh, who brought drinks? We're like, oh crap, nobody brought alcohol. And in classic New Orleans fashion, we asked the state trooper, fully decked out state trooper, hey man, if we give you some money, could you go get us some liquor? And 100% without batting an eye, he goes, yeah, sure. What do you want? And we're like, just get us some assortment. So we all gave him like a bunch of money, or he did himself. I don't know what the statute of limitations is on bribing a cop.
Right.
but he went, turned the lights on, zoomed out, was back in like 20 minutes, right? And he got us and brought us like 2 bags full of liquor for our float. And then so like when we first started out, we're like drinking underneath, and then someone was like, and like I think an hour and a half, I think into the parade, someone was like, wait a minute, guys, this is like Mardi Gras. Like, let's drink on the open. Like this is Mardi Gras, for Christ's sakes. Like we have a pass to be everyone's drunk uncle today. Just act the fool. So we just start drinking like openly, and it was awesome. But that was my favorite moment. Was that?
That's incredible. I do think there's been an evolution of Super Bowl parades, or even just celebration parades as in general of like, yeah, let's and even Quentin Lucas said that this was a family friendly event. I don't know if I would agree with that. That this was a family friendly event.
Well, it's family friendly if you're Mexican, like I'm Mexican, you just got your tios and tios getting drunk, getting whatever. So it's
I just saw families, and like I saw these huge herds of people that I was in with just like small children, and I'm just like, that doesn't seem fun. Like a good idea.
Not at all.
And not only that, like there were people who were just like way too inebriated and just like falling into people and couldn't stand up straight. And it's just like, I don't know. But there has definitely been an evolution, I think. Maybe just because I've been getting older and I can see it more. Maybe that's why I think there's an evolution. But it seems like the parades have become like the boat parade in Tampa Bay. Like that was Tom Brady was sloshed.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah. Him afterwards set the tone. If everyone's dad, he's old enough to be everyone's dad,
right?
I can get just twisted up. Remember, he's get escorted out like that. That set the tone. That kind of said, you know what, man, you did it. Like this is what you were focused on for 6 months this year. Just whatever, get drunk. Don't drink and drive. Be safe.
Right.
That's it. That's all. And it's like, man, have a good time, man. This is what you dreamed of. This is what you wanted. This is everything, right? And it's like, just, yeah. You have one day, because Mahomes was twisted up early. I could tell. I've seen that look. That look. He was zoned in. He was focused. So
it
gets past.
There's a video Joshua Briscoe took of, Nick, I don't know if you saw this. He was in a porta potty, because obviously you're drinking, you're going to have to pee. And he was in a porta potty on the parade route, and he gets out of the porta potty, and people cheer for him.
That's awesome. That is hilarious.
Yeah, nice.
That is
nice
hilarious.
Work,
that is hilarious, man. That's too funny. He's going to take on that Jerry Seinfeld personality, because I saw the comedians in cars getting coffee, and Seinfeld, people don't realize that the Jerry Seinfeld walks around New York City like nobody's business. And he doesn't care about the celebrityness. I think it's when you shun it, people do it more. But you're like, hey, whatever, here, picture. Okay, bye. And then, whatever. You just, like, that's how you got to be Mahomes. Mm-hmm. Just be open, whatever, and not try to be all cagey and just accept it. And people are like, oh, yeah, we accept him.
Yeah. It's
let him be.
It was a good time at the Chiefs parade. Lots of crazy stuff. I just think that I don't know if we're ever going to have good weather, right, for a Chiefs parade, just because of the time of the year that the parade will be. It's always going to be in February, and that's never... Listen, we're recording this podcast, and there's like a thin layer of ice on everything, right?
Yeah, right.
It just got done with an ice storm. So, I mean, there's never going to be a perfect conditions for a Super Bowl parade. But, you had your classic big robes and everything like that. But I don't know, Nick. There was a clip going around of Leo Chanel. And if you haven't seen the other stuff, you didn't see this one. Okay. I think it's kind of hard to put into context what he did. But, like, how impressive athletically is that?
Just amazing. You could tell that man has hopped over some fences in his lifetime, running from certain municipal workers type thing, or, in high school running from the cops. But he, a double-decker bus, he didn't want to use the stairs, so he grabbed onto the top row and then pulled himself up like a La Parker move. And I was like, damn, he's athletic, man. Do a pull-up like that. That's a rock climber in him. But that's just part of the shenanigans. And he's from Wisconsin, right?
Yeah.
So them boys up in Wisconsin, man. Those guys are wild, man. Up in Madtown, as they call it, with Madison. So yeah, those guys know how to parade and drink all day at Summerfest down by the river in Milwaukee too.
What's one of my favorite jokes is what's 2 words to say to Green Bay? Well, this is Green Bay, but just Wisconsinite to get them riled up.
Cheese curds.
Bar's closed.
Oh man, that's a good one. That's such a good one. Yeah. I love that, man. That'd be Wisconsin would have been a cool place to play, because it's like I've heard like Austin. I've heard that Madison's like Austin, Texas. And just a fun time. Just a good time. Just
I can see that.
Party school.
I can see that for sure. Austin has become kind of a trendy place to go as of recently. Foodie scene.
It's been that way. There.
Yeah.
It's been that way, man. It's heart of the hill country. It's the only pretty part of Texas. I love Austin, but it's crowded, man. It's too crowded, and you can't build out. You can't build out anywhere because it's all 35. You can't expand it, so traffic sucks. Traffic does suck.
Didn't think about that. Yeah, that was kind of the Jack Cochran. That's an Iowa State linebacker that I tried to pull right there. Leo Chanel doing a pull up was impressive because to me, on how Union Station, if you're going up Main Street, right, and they have that retaining wall that's right there, just before you get up to actual Union Station, coming from the south, they've got that retaining wall, and they had a row because they had that street, they had Main Street blocked off, and they had a row of just porta potties down there, porta potties as far as the eye could see, because they knew that people were going to have to pee, because again, you're drinking, you're going to have to pee. So I jumped down this retaining wall and I went down, and then I had to try to figure out how to get back up. And so I had to try to jump this retaining wall, and I did not look like Jack Cochran. Why do I keep saying Jack Cochran? I did not look like Leo Chanel, trying to get up that retaining wall. I looked like I tried one time and I was like, all right, let me put my foot here. I'll just kind of lift myself up. That didn't really work. So I was like, all right, I'm going to Lambo leap this sucker. And I jumped up and I Lambo leaped it.
Nice.
So happened. I was like,
Adam Schefter or like Donald Driver? Like what? Like what was the?
So I jumped up and I caught myself like with my hands right here, and I just like lifted and then shifted my butt over. So it wasn't like I didn't jump and sit on it. It wasn't like that. Like it was.
You're working on plyo hops, Tucker. You're working on plyo hops, man.
I know.
You gotta get, man.
It also didn't help. I was a few deep at that point too. I was just like, man, I just hope no one is recording me right now. Because if this gets put on Twitter and someone tags me, well, okay. If someone can be recording me, that's fine. But as long as nobody is like tagging me on Twitter,
they'll find you. Oh, they'll find you. And they'll find you. Like whose man is this? Whose man's is this? Absolutely. That's what it would have been. So wait, what was you that like to me? Like, did you have a moment in the parade where you took a step back and said, "Holy shit, this is amazing"? Like, did you have that moment?
Yeah, I think it was when everyone was filing in, right? So they take the parade route from Grand Street all the way down from I think they started at 6th Street, 6th and Grand all the way up north and came all the way down to Pershing, which is right in front of Union Station, and cut over. They went into Union Station and obviously they fill them full of water, sober them up, make sure they're all right to go on a microphone, and then they put them up on stage. So it was that moment right there when when the parade was done itself and they were getting ready for the rally. I just kind of looked back. Because I'd been in the same position I've just been looking for the whole time. I turned around, obviously beside me it had been getting fuller, and I turned around and it was like, oh, I can see I can only see people. That was it. I couldn't see any, I used to be able to turn around and see grass. That wasn't the case anymore. So at one point I was just like, wow, there's a lot of people here right now. And that was one of those instances I was just like, we're all here for the same thing. We all are here because we like this one football team. And it's great. Just the unity of everybody involved. There was no really events, I don't think. Not that I saw that I was around any spats or anything like that. Even though everyone was enjoying themselves, which is it's a reward in itself just to have that many people get together and not really have anything go wrong majorly. I don't remember seeing anything on the news about it or anything. So. To have that many people in the same spot and have nothing go wrong, I mean, you got to tip your hat. You got to tip your hat to just everybody involved with that.
That's a really good point. I love that. Shout out to Kansas City. Kind of showed their true classiness by everyone getting together, everyone having a good time. My only disappointment from the parade yesterday that compare it to the last parade for the Chiefs. That one dude fell out of a tree like that. That dude was amazing. Well, that was like 9:30 in the morning when he fell out that tree too, and I'm glad he's okay, right? For sure. If he would have been hurt, it would have been different. But none of that happened. But to me, I just love how everyone gathered. It was a big event. Everyone celebrated the Chiefs, and I think you have to experience the loss from Tampa to make it, and the losing to Cincinnati last year to be like, this ain't guaranteed.
Yeah.
You need those. As Vanilla Sky, as Jason Lee's character says, you need sweet and sour, right? You need sour to appreciate the sweet. And it's like, it just makes it that much better once you've tasted that sour a couple times to be like, okay, the sweet tastes even better after the sour. And that's what it was. These past 2 years was sour. And then to get it now, it's like, this is sweet. And guess what? It might not happen again. No, there's a good chance, but shit has to happen. Like think about this. Buffalo beat Cincinnati. Man, neutral site, Buffalo. That's a tough game.
Yeah.
You know, Buffalo matched up well with KC, right? So it's these little things in playoffs, right? You got to get matched up with the right teams. Gots to.
You got to be good, but you also got to be lucky. I think that's the big part of what people don't. I know a lot of people will say like, "Oh, well, this team got lucky." You got to have some luck.
Kind of.
If you're going to win a Super Bowl, yeah, you have to. You have to. So Nick, I think that's a good point to end on, though. The sweet and the sour. Yesterday, Wednesday, was certainly a sweet day. Watching the parade, watching the Chiefs celebrate another Super Bowl victory. Super excited for what is in store for this team. They got a big offseason coming up, but we're not going to talk about that yet. We're still enjoying the Super Bowl. We're still enjoying the parade. So Nick, any final thoughts?
We have until August 1 to celebrate the Super Bowl victory. And then once August 1 hits, we're focused on the 2023 Kansas City Chiefs. Last year didn't matter. So let's enjoy this damn thing. All right, we're the reigning Super Bowl champs as of right now. Until August 1. August 1, we put it to bed. We don't talk about it anymore. New season, new year.
It's perfect. Nick, as always, thank you for hopping on a podcast. Thanks to BJ Kissel as well. He had to get out of here early, but listen, 'tis the season for those parent-teacher conferences. Gotta get those done. I get it. I don't know how it goes, but I do know how it goes at the same time. Thank you all for listening to the very end of this podcast. Shout out to Five Farms Irish Cream Liquor. Great stuff to drink, especially on a day like Wednesday when we record this podcast. Throw that in some coffee. Have yourself a good time celebrating the Chiefs Super Bowl victory. We'll be back with more stuff here on KCSN. Super stoked for what we got planned for the draft season and everything else. So until then, we will talk to you later.
Thanks for watching this production of KC Sports Network, the fastest growing sports media network in Kansas City. Check out these videos that feature our team of more than 15 former players, insiders, and analysts bringing you the best Chiefs coverage you can find. Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network.